Understanding the technology that powers the money is essential. Knowing the business drivers that inspire how the money is made is crucial. Bridging the gap between the mind of the technologist and the mind of the business is monumental. That is what TBF is all about. Let's start this never-ending conversation. It's time.
Welcome, happy Friday to another episode of the Tech Behind FinTech. I'm your host, Anandio Swago, and I'm joined by my guest, Creston Stickels. Really excited about today's show. It is called Beyond the Swipe, How Debit and Credit Cards Come to Life. Creston, how are you doing today?
Great. Man, great to be on the show. Appreciate it.
Man, really great to have you. Great to have you. Listen, before we jump into it, we're going to do a few housekeeping things. So, number one, we are streaming live from Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. We have a separate stream going on from Instagram as well. Next housekeeping thing, drop comments. It's a live show. We'll look at the comments and add them to the show. So, without further ado, let's get into it. Once again, today's show title is called Beyond the Swipe, How Debit and Credit Cards Come to Life. So let me introduce Creston by reading his bio. Creston is a senior leader in the financial services and payment industry with 20 plus years of experience. Creston has managed numerous teams across the operations landscape in electronic payments, cards, digital wallets, partner management, and manufacturing. He is currently with Fizz in the banking solutions division and was previously at Robinhood and WorldPay. Excellent stuff.
That's
man.
me.
2 decades in the game, Creston. What are some rules from 2 decades in the game?
Say that again.
I said 2 decades in the game. What are some nuggets from 2 decades in the game?
It's a constantly changing industry, but a lot of the nuts and bolts stay the same. I find myself, even at 20 years, you talk to people that have 30 and 40 years in the industry. So we've changed a lot. We've migrated a lot. We've moved a lot of things into to advance the way payments are used. And it's crazy to see how things have advanced the last 15 years specifically, right? With the advancement of EMV, embedded payments. It's been exciting. It's been an exciting time. I love the industry, not going anywhere. I've tried to get out of it over the years, and it always brings me back. Love it.
Hey, like Godfather, they keep pulling you back in. Awesome stuff. So listen, it's the holiday season. I dropped a promo for the show. In this holiday season, people are buying gifts, going to restaurants, going out, doing things with their family. And the thing that remains current throughout all those processes, everybody has in common, they're swiping their credit cards, they're punching numbers online, they're going on Amazon, they're buying things, stored credit card in there. But it's based right now on that hard plastic that we keep in our wallets. So I've met Creston at Money 2020, and I was fascinated. We had a great conversation about something that I've never thought about was how does that credit card get manufactured and into my wallet? So, and he just talked his way through it. And I was like, dude, I have to get you on my show, and we have to really I have to learn about this. Let's ask some questions, get people involved, and let's figure this stuff out. So, high level summary, how does it work?
Well, we in our industry, we kind of like to say that the card is a place where art meets function, right? Where technology meets function. So if I'm in the product side of a bank, a financial institution, I know that the one place my brand is always in my customer's hand is that card, right? How do I get my card to look and represent my brand? How do I get the technology out there, right? I know that I have the functionality of the point of sale terminals varies across the country. I need my card to work everywhere it's at. And then you have the manufacturing piece. How do I get this to market fast? How do I get the products I need? How do I get the plastics? How do I get the chips, the antennas, right? What is right for my customer? What is right for my brand? So where do you want to dive in here, Nambi? There's a lot of things that is still out there.
Yeah. Before we get into the manufacturing side, you said something to me that really I've never thought about, but it makes absolute sense. You said art meets function, and how each card, the bank wants to represent their brand. And, that just hit me because obviously you start, I go through my wallet, right? And there is a representation of various banks on each card. And, and I don't know why, I literally just thought about it. It like literally just hit me when you said that. It's almost the bank's business card with your name on it.
Oh, exactly what it is. It's how do I look at a card on my wallet and say, oh, I want to use that card, right? What triggers the usage? Is it optics? Is it rewards? Is it I get this back or I get that back? Is it this card works better at these stores? I've had an issue with this card. Imagine using your card and it doesn't work 2 times in a row because the technology behind it wasn't working. Are you going to grab that card a third or fourth time? You're not, right? You're going to move to the next one in the wallet, right? So there's a lot of factors involved in how you look down and figure what card are you going to use.
And even to the point of status, like taking out, the American Express heavy platinum card and giving it to someone. I'm not the black card level yet, but that's even a status hit, right?
Yeah, metal cards are a whole different ballgame, right? That's something that's been introduced in the last decade and continue to grow. It's a credit product mostly, but we're seeing it dive into the debit side as well. Packaging, how do you unpackage a card, right? We have. Let's talk Apple. Apple has that moment when you open their phone. It's like, oh wow, this is fantastic. We want to give that, and we use that in our industry. This isn't a new concept. We want that when you open your card, right? What's driving you to put that at the top of your wallet, right? And that brings interchange, higher spend, more revenue for your business line.
Sometimes when it comes to packaging, I get like nondescript packages because I would assume that's for security purposes, right? Throughout the mail system, you don't want people to say, "Oh, that's a card."
Correct.
So I've seen. I'm thinking through. I'm sure maybe some of the higher end ones came with package. I don't remember that.
Yeah, your day-to-day debit card, credit card, that the average consumer uses is probably going to come through the mail. Some of the packaging I'm talking about is more of like something that you're going to get overnight, something that's going to be in a UPS, a FedEx package. It's going to be covered and secure in itself. And that allows you to have that unveiling moment through that process. Higher end, right? Remember, you're spending money. You're not spending a couple dollars to get in front of the customer. You're spending $15, $20, $30, $40 to get in front of the customer, right? So what type of customer is going to, if you're spending $40 to get that in front of a customer, maybe even $100 based on the type of card it is, metal card, gold card, things like that. What type of spend is that customer using? It changes the concept of how you get a card. It kind of goes back to that art meets function, right?
Can you give an example of a brand that will send this type of packaging in which they're spend? First of all, because you mentioned some numbers here, what's the typical spend on packaging versus the spend for the higher end cards?
The spectrum's wild. I've been to conferences where I've seen MasterCard, Visa branded cards with diamonds in them that you're talking $20,000 a card. Yes, super unlikely, not going to be in a common market, right? But the average card going out the door, most institutions are going to be paying right around $3 to $4 for a dual interface, contactless base card, right? That's in the mail, USPS, standard mail showing up in your mailbox.
Wait, say that number again. I missed it. You said $3 or $4.
$3 to $4. Yeah, it varies on volume, size. There's a lot of variables here in this space. It's a high volume space, so prices can vary, but that's where you're probably sitting at. Middle of the road, you're looking at if you're going to be at let's call it a annual fee credit card, your higher end Amexes where you're looking at cards could go up to $100 for a metal card. Packaging could be up to $50 to get that in someone's hand, right? On the higher end of that. Usually what I've been trying to get into is to that $30 to $50 range where I'm getting a metal card in your hand. I'm getting the packaging, the special packaging. I'm getting it into your hands overnight. And I'm hitting that price point kind of middle of the road there. And that varies for products. It depends who you're talking to. You talk to product leaders, they want the best for their product or their people, right? So it's just a spectrum that you can meet in this space.
We go back to the conference you went to where there was a card with a diamond in it. Like, how does that even work? How does that look? Like, describe that because this is totally new to me.
Yeah, no, it's essentially. The aspects of the card have to fit within kind of an ISO spec, right? once you meet that spec that it fits in the terminal, kind of sky's the limit a little bit, right? So when you talk about the special metals that are out there, the platinums, the golds, only certain parts of the card actually enter the terminal itself. So you have area on the card that you can put different things, like, for example, diamonds. They lay pretty flat. I've seen engravings. Sky's the limit in this space. It really is. Now, these are highly unlikely to be used or seen in the real world. So let's be very clear there. Not be like, you're not going to be pulling up into a restaurant and have someone pull out a $20,000 gold card. But the goal is, from a product perspective, you can pull that back a little bit and get that metal feel, that high-end plastic feel, that custom feel that you want your customer to have when they do use it.
So you mentioned product. What does the team consist of who's coming up with these cards? Like, what does that team, like? I know from a software development side, you know, from being in the industry for a while, you know, we have our developers, you know, the whole concept over the last 10, 15, we have product managers that came into the last 10, 15 years. Earlier on, it was more the project managers handling that role, and especially in finance, where I worked early on in different banks. You know, then we have our QA, we have, you know, in different aspects of that team and release management and so forth. Now it's more DevOps and DevSecOps, and you have other aspects of that. That's on the software side. How does it work on the card side?
Well, generally, you have two kind of rails. You have your current card offerings. Like, let's say I'm a traditional bank. I have 4 or 5 different cards out there. The question is usually year to year, do I want that use that same image, the same brand styling, the same coloring, or do I want to enhance it or improve it year over year, you know, model over model kind of thing? So that's where generally you have a product manager, product teams have kind of are embedded in the process, have been there for a long time. They know, hey, we have a blue card. Let's change it. Let's move it to gray. Let's add some engraving. Let's look at advancing how, you know, the packaging. Do we want to change our card carrier, right? This comes to you in the mail. There's a card carrier. There's activation labels. What do I want all these things to look like that you can see if you're kind of on an existing product? When you go to like a new development, which has been fun, I had that at Robinhood. When I was at Robinhood, right? We had a brand new card coming out. We were starting from scratch, right? This was something that went up to the highest levels of the organization. What do we want this card to look like, right? We spent months in the art phase, right? Developing color, you know, basically colors, images, items. What do we want this card to look like? One that's never been on the market before. That was something that was really kind of fun to see, because you're with design teams, art teams. This is that art side where you're creating something very unique, specific that you're going to be handing to a customer, and that's where that kind of art meets function came in. That carries into the how is that presented to the customer with the card carrier? What's on that card carrier, right? What images, what data? What am I telling the customer? What do I want that to look like? Is the paper thick? Is it thin? Does it, you know, I mean, am I going to get this nice hard paper that seems like high quality? Am I getting low quality, things like that? So these are the things that we want those customers to see as we kind of launch newer products.
Good question on that, right?
Go ahead.
Because you're talking about like the brand new card, and like in the Robinhood example, they at the time they're launching the brand new card. You mentioned design team. So what I want to understand is like the roles of those people, like the job function. Is a designer, like how, what is the team comprised of? Who's coming up with that? Because you have a design, you have. Give me some roles.
So yeah, you would. I mean, you literally in that case, you have your head of design, the corporate head of design. That person will have, let's say, 2 or 3 project managers and art designers on their team. They'll take away, hey, here is our brand as a corporate, as a company, right? As a financial institution, here's our brand. Here's our market. Who are we trying to get this to? What is the long-term goal of this product? Go put together designs that we think we're going to like. So that design team leaves. They go a month. They're gone a month. They come back with 20 card designs, 30 card designs, right? The spectrum of colors, designs on the card, images, things like that it could make across the board. They then start narrowing that down, right? That goes in front of CEO level people. Sometimes here's 10 cards. Which one do you like? Well, let's dive deeper into these 2. There might even be customer research. We might even reach out to customers, show them 3 or 4 things. What do you like? Do you like this? Do you like that? Because we want these to be used, right? So let's not engage the customer in this process as well. From there, you start getting in. Then they bring at a certain point, and I usually in this case am brought in the beginning because there are some limitations, right? We talked about diamonds, for example. Well, yeah, we could have someone say, "Hey, I want to make this card. It's got all these things. It's got all these special engravings and everything." Like, well, that's great. It's going to cost X dollars. Well, that does, $30 card, $50 card doesn't match the product stream for a debit program. So we kind of have to bring down what we're going to do from a cost perspective, and that's kind of where I jump in. Once we start getting designs lined up, that's when I pivot to the vendors in the space, right? Card manufacturers, payment processors like my current employer, right? We reach out to them with our partnerships, develop what are the things we need from them to get this product live. And that's where you start meaning where that art meets function, right? How does the card get built? How do we make it? How do we get an antenna in it, right? Your card has multiple layers. How do we make sure that's dual interface? Where does the chip going to go in your card design, right? Where does the card number go? Where do you want to personalize it? Where's the customer's name? If we even put the name on there, if we even put the card number on there, there's all these different data points that all kind of start funneling down into the final product you see. We'll take a break. Sorry, you get me going, Nami.
This is exactly what I wanted. This is awesome. Reminds me of when we met, and I was just like blown away just listening to you. So I'm like, I've never dived this deep into the card. Actually, to be honest, I've never even thought about it. I just use it.
You just use it, right? Yeah.
But now I'm like so fascinated by it. Okay, the question I have, right? So from an internal side, I think I understand it, right? I'm just going to reiterate what you just said. You have to look at the brand itself of the bank. You have the design team, the head of design. He has a bunch of designers. They come in. It must be some business interface. You're brought in just to say, okay, we're going to go with this design, but I need to give you the technical limitations of that. You're brought in early for that. They go away in their corner, do what they need to do. They come back with various designs that meet the functional criteria that you provided them. It's reviewed by senior leadership. I would assume also probably reviewed by some people in marketing and so forth, because they have to have some input in that. And then after you get, okay, here are some of the things we're going to go with. What I want to understand now, because you mentioned some third parties, like payment providers and things like that. What do they have to do with that process that early on? Like that's what I don't get.
Great question. If it's a branded card, Visa, MasterCard have to approve it, right? They have to approve the images. So they have to approve that it can work in the market, right? So you have to be careful that no matter what you create, has to be, if you're going to have a MasterCard, Visa, Discover, Amex logo on there, they are part of that process before it can go live. They work great with us. They work great with the customers. They're very open. They want to advance. They want to be leaders in the industry, in this industry, but they also are part of that. So once you get to that lower end of the funnel of what you want, you do need to bring in the different ecosystems and the different players in the ecosystem and how to get that card launched, right? Every institution usually is part of a payment processor. That payment processor has to be kind of included in that in the later stages of this to make sure that the data is right. They're able to move the transactions right. The card's built correctly. All those the chips, the right chip. What chip are you using? Right. There's a lot of different chips out there. That's when you start getting into the technical side, where the art meets the technical side of this before the function. Right. Kind of that triangle we mentioned in the beginning.
So, and I like this because we're going through the process. So, after the design phase, I'm curious about. We're just gonna, instead of Visa, MasterCard, we're just gonna use Visa, for instance, right? How does that interaction work? Do you send them the designs? What are you sending them that they're reviewing? Like, how does that process work?
We send them designs. That's a long story to show within itself, probably not me, but yeah, they have their own online portals that you're able to introduce your images to them. They approve it. Most organizations, banks, for example, have their own contacts within these brands as well. So if you're doing if you're a major U.S. bank and you're doing a major launch, they may have contacts well within these brands, helping them maneuver the brand side of it.
So, okay, cool. And what's the decision factor in going with a Visa or a MasterCard from, let's use your former employer, like a Robinhood, like this is brand new card? I would assume that's decided on early based on the business and stuff like that?
Yeah, a lot of it's pricing, frankly, right?
Pricing. Okay.
Pricing, speed to market. A lot of it will be based on your processor and who you're using to get this card into the auth stream into the market. So generally, that's early on. When you create something brand new like that, you're often given that question early on: what brand mark do you want to use? Most can use both. A lot of institutions in the U.S. use both, actually. And then the bigger ones, the smaller ones do stick with one or the other, but it can't happen. It can be used at both.
I got it. So I guess so we're using both. That's 2 approvals. All right. So design's done. You go to this portal that obviously you have a account manager with, either Visa, MasterCard. You go through the portal. They take a certain turnaround. I would assume a week or so, or maybe 2 weeks to approve.
Yeah, they're pretty quick. Everything's pretty quick within this phase.
Okay.
Yeah. And then I want to make sure there's also the manufacturing in there too a little bit, because you have to have the manufacturer of the card, right? The card that's actually making the card, they will create proofs. So I want to make sure I didn't want to skip that step either. Something you get me thinking too far ahead. So as a product person, I've designed it. I've got the sketches. I know exactly what I want it to look like. We're approved. We're ready to go. I've already engaged the brands, but I'm engaged with the manufacturing side, and they will create proofs of what the card will look like. And those proofs are what's sent to the brands, MasterCard, Visa, for their approval.
Okay. So once we have the design laid out internally, the manufacturer will create proofs.
Usually digital proofs. They can create hard proofs if you want. Depends on what you're looking for, right?
Most of the time, it's a digital, or like an example where it was a net new card. Was it a digital or was it a hard proof?
It's what you feel comfortable with as an organization. So generally, if you're doing a net new, generally you're going to get a hard proof mailed to you so you can hold it, touch it, see it, right? Makes sense.
Assume that.
Existing banks, existing customers that are on their 900th iteration of a card, they might find themselves just going with what they know, right? Save the money, save the time, quicker.
That makes sense. And you mentioned, so when it's a new card that you're launching now for the first time, would Visa or MasterCard get that hard proof, or would they just get a digital proof?
Usually they get hard proofs, yeah.
Oh, they get the hard proof.
And they move the digital. I sometimes I'm a little dated. I get a little nervous. I haven't worked with a Visa card like the last thing for a year, but they'll do both. They used to be hard proofs, and I think they have moved into a more digital space. So they make it as easy as they can for you. Both. The goal is not to hamper this process, but to be accurate.
All right, cool. Where are we now? All right, so we have the digital. Visa said, you know what? Card looks good. We give you the thumbs up. If they have issues, they'll get back to you or change this, and you'll do that. Okay, but we get to the hard proof aspect now. How did the process work in choosing the manufacturer?
Kind of just the pricing again and availability of what you're trying to accomplish. It's kind of a mixture of both. It's not uncommon to get kind of like, requests for pricing, right? You RFP the market, see who's going to bring back the best pricing for what you're looking for. So, and you start getting into very traditional supply management, finances, business cases with these situations where what's the most cost-effective way to get the product you want.
Got it. Okay, cool. So you got the manufacturer. That's more of because you're going with a new card, you're lining all of these third-party vendors up prior. I guess before, even while you're designing it, you're lining all these partners up.
Yes. Okay,
cool. So we're at the manufacturing stage now, right? Because they got your design, they gave the hard proof, it got a thumbs up. How does that work now? Like, what are the different elements of the card? You mentioned antennas, you mentioned chips. How does all of that work?
Well, this is where you start getting into the true manufacturing stage, where you're kind of more in the supply chain of what does that manufacturer have available for what you're trying to launch. Generally speaking, again, this varies. It's a cyclical thing, high volume years. This is anywhere you could get cards in hand from a these are blank cards. We can get into the personalization later too. I don't know if we haven't broken that up yet either, but there's the hard manufacturing takes 4 to 8 weeks, generally speaking, can take longer. So once you've got all the approvals, you're then enter their production pipeline, and then you get kind of like a creation or a mail date of when you expect a ship date and when you expect those cards to be prepared and ready to go. The manufacturer is managing the aspects of the card. The PVC, is there metal involved? They will likely have multiple chip options. We probably don't need to dive into that in this call, but multiple chip options from how the chip interacts with the terminal, whether it's just a dual interface, contact only, things like that. That's where you get that antenna. Your design, for example, has to be able to have an antenna that can go through the kind of that internal body of the card, and then that will get prepped at those manufacturers for production. And then production itself, once they actually start doing it, takes 3 to 5 days just for that alone. And then those cards get boxed up and securely shipped to the location they're needed.
You describe the antenna and how does that work? Like, what is the antenna and how does it work?
Well, that's what helps the card and chip communicate with the terminal and that tap and go, right? The RFID, radio frequency ID. So that's the tap. That's how you tap and go. And I use the word dual interface. You hear that? Not a lot of industry people know what that means, but that's the card can interact with the terminal in multiple ways. I can use contact only while I'm inserting it, right? And then I can do tap and go, contactless while I'm tapping it at the reader.
So I'm sure the technology existed a while ago, but what I've noticed just from a consumer and end user point of view, the tap and go just became more prevalent after COVID. Like during that time, and I was like, I don't like before. I don't know. Before that, I just remember always inserting my card. Then after, then something happened. Then now it's like I rarely insert. It's like tap, 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 everything.
Mm-hmm. So a couple of things happened there industry wide that a lot of people didn't even notice. And I'll make fun of this later because this is called Beyond the Swipe. We haven't swiped cards in 15 years, Namdi, if you think back, right? So we've been tapping and inserting, right? So that was a little fun thought. We haven't actually swiped in a long time, but it's still there. So to go back, COVID was a big part of that. The contactless, I mean, literally, does it get any better than, that's exactly what we wanted during COVID, right? Contactless interactions. Well, contactless was a perfect word for EMV at that time, right? So, and a lot of it has to do with merchants. So this is merchant specific as well. And that gets more onto the acquiring side of this, which is a whole different world. But there are still big box merchants that haven't fully gone contactless yet, right? Like I've only just very recently been to a major grocery store chain where they were allowing contactless in the store. So you're also kind of stuck with what does the merchant allow? And that is growing rapidly. The market in the US has really pivoted to dual interface, that tap and go contactless interaction dramatically over the last 4 or 5 years. So you're actually seeing it a lot more.
Okay, interesting stuff from that. All right, so that's what the antenna is used for, dual interface, whether because it's multiple ways you can interface with the thing. You can swipe, you could insert, or you can tap. So the antenna inside the card helps the chip communicate with.
Correct.
Right. Is that accurate?
Yes, very accurate.
Yeah, man. This is so cool because I love it because I've never thought about this before, and now that with this show and this conversation, I'm gonna look at things differently. I'm gonna start doing my own searches afterwards. Like, okay, just to fully understand how it works. All right, so we're in the manufacturers now. You made the decision, like in terms of because you're overseeing all this stuff and working with. Can you just go through that manufacturing, the process itself? I just want to understand.
Yeah, I will do my best here because I'll have to make. I have some blind spots too because I have not managed a manufacturing site myself. I was more on the personalization side. But so the card itself is generally made of multiple layers, plastic, and then a kind of middle insert. So you obviously have to have all that plastic prepared and ready to go. We did talk about the swipe. All cards in the US still have a mag stripe on the back as a backup. Okay, so you have to put that on the plastic as well. Once the plastic is made, compressed, it's actually baked, believe it or not. They actually cook it for 8-12 hours. I don't remember the exact number, but they cook it essentially in huge ovens. It's a big thing, big conveyor belts. Really? Once those are ready and prepared, we then have to figure out two things. Did we have the chip? Do we have the antenna that I'm talking about? That would have been put in during the compression of all the layers. And then there's a milling and embedding process. So once the plastic is made, there's no chip on it, right? The card that you would have known back before EMV. Those cards are then put through a new process where they're actually put into a machine and they're milling and embedding that chip so that it can be used in that contactless manner. From there, it then goes through a QA process, and it gets kind of packaged, shipped, and is prepared for where that secure transport to where it's going, right? The personalization facilities, which are often different from the manufacturing facilities. And I'll stop.
Okay. Yeah, let's stop there. Okay, so I think I'm getting it right now. So when a manufacturing process is done, I would assume, because correct me where I'm wrong, and I'm just making assumptions here just based on logic, right? The card that the personalization gets, it doesn't have numbers and doesn't have a name on it. Correct. But it has, like, you have the chip, you have the antenna, you have the hard plastic, you have the banking logo, I would assume.
Yes, the image, like that wonderful design that you created 6 months ago has now been lithoed, put on the card through a couple different processes. Again, we might dive into that here, but the card isn't made. So that beautiful card that you approved 6 months ago has now made it to its final destination of our manufacturing stage and is now ready to get shipped, so it's now going to go personalized. Now, I'll confuse you a little here. We also, in our industry, use a lot of white card technology, meaning I can actually take a white card, I can put it into a personalization machine, and I can put a full color edge-to-edge image on it at a high quality. So I know. So there's two worlds that you can enter as a bank. I can go fully custom card that we just talked about, the design teams, all these wonderful things, and you can also do all of that. But then when you get to the card decision, you can actually choose a white plastic where the personalization site puts a full color edge-to-edge photo on it. So we didn't go into that much because I think you're more interested in the custom world, but that can be happening at both sides. The white plastics are kind of a different conversation. I don't know if you want to dive into that right now, but it does create a lot of variabilities to the bank and to the production sites for efficiencies and things like that. But in this world, in our first conversation, we've kind of gone down the custom card, which is kind of a little more in depth with how that's produced.
So I'm going to make an analogy because everybody, most people know about cars. So I'm assuming, and correct me if this analogy is incorrect, the white card process is similar to having a car, and instead of, one aspect that we talked about with the design phase, you get the car, it's the color you want, painted everything, boom, that's your car. Another one is you get the car, and then you can do a wrap, in which when you wrap around the car, it can look, you can turn a white car to a black car, and it has all these different things. Is that similar in terms, like
very similar? Right.
Okay.
It's a great product for smaller institutions. So imagine you're a smaller city, you have a couple branches. You do not have huge product teams. You don't have huge design teams. So you want a lot of variables in what you can have and give your customer. So we offer that for that type of customer. So you can pick 3, 4, 5 different options that look great to your customer, but they're financially easier for you, they're easier to design, and they're easier for you to manage compared to like a big conglomerate that's doing custom cards, high-end cards, things like that.
If I'm looking at the white card versus the custom card, you're an expert, you probably can tell the difference. Can I tell the difference?
Most people can't know.
Some of the nuances.
The ISO, there might be some debate in this. Some people that are listening with, I can't tell the difference. So yes and no. Average customer, hopefully not. The goal is that you can. We are managing to an ISO spec that the terminals require, meaning the cards have to be the same exact measurements across the entire thing, right? In most cases, the same plastic that's used in the custom is also used in the white plastic. So you get to where fundamentally at the core, it is the same card with some variances. Yeah. So I know that there is some variances there. Again, dive in. There's a lot of weeds here, but they are fundamentally the same.
Can you give me an insider tip? Like if I'm looking at 2 cards, and like you'll look at 2 cards, oh no, that's that one's not custom. Give me an insider tip.
We fixed this too, but if you look at the edge of the card, it could be white, right? Because it's a white card, so we can't color the edges of the card, so you'll see white. And then there is one product that we use that puts a full image on there, and the card will crack a little bit when you bend it. If you kind of bend it, it'll kind of you hear just a little cracking. It's not damaging the image per se, but it's pulling apart we put a coating over the card, and it's cracking that a little bit. Not visibly, but it is interesting that you can see that. Yeah. So
fascinating. I love it. I feel like an insider now. It's like I don't know what situation I'll be in the future, and I'm going to have cars. And somebody
you're going to be. I see. You're going to be at a big brand box store, and you're going to be kind of doing this next to the terminal.
Love it.
What's that guy doing?
Absolutely love it. All right, so back to it. Right, the manufacturer now on the custom side has all your bulk orders. Everything's done. It has the antenna, the chip. It has the banking logo, the design that you approved. It now gets shipped to this personalization center. Describe that personalization facility. Like, how does that? What is it? Is it something owned by the? I would assume that's another third party, right? Vendor.
Yeah, there's a couple ways this occurs. Trying to think through how it's usually the same manufacturer that built the card generally will also have a personalization facility, right?
Makes sense.
All of your major payment processors in the US and globally have their own personalization centers, perso bureaus, you might hear them called. The FISs, Fiservs, they all have their own sites. Those cards will then ship to the personalization sites for that bank where that bank's cards are being created. We haven't talked. You're a security guy, so this is where we've already been in high security environments here, right? These cards are built behind dual security. Everything's held in vaults. Things are, audited, high security, PCI compliance things all going on through this whole process. And that's exactly what happens at the personalization site. These cards are then checked in securely through secure shipment, brought into high security dual control vaults that are audited and controlled by our brands. And they sit there essentially at that point unpersonalized.
What's a dual control vault?
You can't have one person in there by themselves.
Oh.
So you cannot enter that room without at least two people, and no person can be in there by themselves.
Got it. That's pretty cool. Cool.
So they sit in the vault, and what will happen is you'll go live with your product, saying, "Here we come, world. Here's our new debit card." And as orders come through your APIs or your banking systems will your payment processor or this card personalization site will get those orders and then personalize them for your customers. The individual's name, individual card number, addresses, and they'll get run on personalization equipment that exists at the sites.
Okay, so a couple of things I want to cover to make sure I have it right. Your payment provider. So if you're like in your old Robinhood days, they have a payment provider. Let's say hypothetically, you don't have to get the details of which one it was, but let's just say Fizz, for example. In that case, the payment provider could have the personalization facility.
Correct.
So it gets shipped there. So now there's a situation in which, how do they know? How can they anticipate the number of cards?
Welcome to one of our biggest challenges in the industry, right? That's where you get into the pure manufacturing, supply chain logistics that all operation managers fear, right? How do I prepare for the amount of cards I'll need on a daily basis? How do I have machine capacity, staffing capacity, site capacity that's required? Yes, that is a daily challenge for operation folks.
Okay, so typically for this net new card, I guess I'm thinking, like I said, correct me where I'm wrong. I'm just using how I would approach it. Analysis was done in terms of from your existing customer base, what percentage of that customer base will want or sign up for this card. Then I'll use those numbers for my manufacturer to estimate a number of cards that I'm going to need that they'll send to the personalization side to sit in this vault. And as orders come in this dual control vault, that's how you would get the cards out to fulfill these orders.
Correct. Yeah, you're exactly right. In many cases, it's maybe not even that sophisticated, to be quite honest with you. I mean, it's literally what do we think is going to happen? we have our portfolio is this big. We expect if 1% migrate to this new product, then that gives me a number to have ready. I've also seen it where we are very intentional with how we spend money as a business. So we are more inclined actually to even come up short and create demand for the card versus overspend and be holding the bag with a bunch of piece of plastic, right? So a couple different ways to think there. I've been on both ends of that, overspent and underspent, right? So, or seen it. I won't say I've been there, but I've seen it. I'll say that.
Got it. I got it. So you could either limit the supply to increase the demand or so forth, rather than increase the supply and then not have enough demand.
Right.
Okay. Cool. All right. So we have these blank cards sitting in a control vault. Someone on a customer now requests, this is what I need. I want a card. Can you just describe? Obviously, it probably be multiple customers requesting. Can you describe the process of getting the card out of this dual control vault and putting? Because now for customization, I'm going to assume that we need the name, we need the numbers, we need those 3 security, those American Express 4 security code ID, the regular Visa Mastercard is 3. What else would you need for customization?
I'll dive. This is a big part of that process. So what you see on the card is basically a small percentage of what's actually done. So we'll start the process. So you're a customer, you go into the app. I lost my card. I need a new one. Or hey, I'm going into the app. I'm going to the bank's website. Whatever the financial institution's way to order a card, I've done. That will then usually go to your payment processor, and that the payment processor will then do a kind of a data prep of those card orders during the day, and then they will concatenate that information and then send it to the card personalization site. So there's a lot of different ways that can occur, but essentially at the bottom line, that's basically how it happens, right? So that night, that day, the production facility will receive all of those card files from the different banks, from the different orders, from the different customers. And they will then concatenate those and put those together into jobs, very simple job orders. They're usually light jobs, so we'll make all the jobs for this bank and all the jobs for this bank, and they'll kind of stay together through our production process. And that will basically enter the vault. They will enter the vault as jobs. And a person in that vault will go, oh, hey, ABC Bank wants 10 cards a day. They walk over to the vault section where that bank is. They pull 10 cards. They prepare the job sheet, all the information that an operator or the machine operator is going to need, and they bring that out to the production floor for the operator to make. The machines are very complicated, very complex. They do all the personalization we talked about, adding the card number, adding the name, and encoding the chip, encoding the mag stripe. We're also usually putting it onto a carrier and then inserting that into an envelope. All those processes vary at each site and how you do them. They can happen independently. They can all happen in line all together. Once that card is done, it is basically securely stored in-house and then handed in a secure manner to basically the pre-sort vendor or a mail vendor that helps us get it out into the mail stream efficiently. I described that about as succinctly as I could think of. There's a lot of things in that process that are probably a little bit that could vary a lot of different ways, but essentially that's how it gets out.
Interesting question on that. Basic question is, how is the link established with the card number and that chip? How is that association established?
You're getting a little over my skis in the data prep here, I'm not going to lie, but that is part of the data prep where we connect that card. So it's through the bin. Each card, each bank has bins. That's the first 6 digits of your card. That is this. Won't share too much industry information, but that is the bin is very specific to a unique issuer, like a bank or financial institution. And using that information along with data prepping that in our connection with as a payment processor, we are able to connect that to your bank account and the settlement process and authorization process that all occurs when you use it. I probably did a bad job explaining that because you're a little out of my realm when it comes to some of the secure data prep of that, but essentially the payment processor ties all the knots together, working with the brands, making sure that that card is connected to you properly, that the card number is yours, and then it connects properly through MasterCard, Visa, Discover.
No, this is great. So I think this is cool because in this episode, what we managed to do is to really just describe that end-to-end process, and then it's mailed by the mail vendor, and then the user gets it. Can we now? I mean, that's good. That's a great end-to-end understanding. I really appreciate that. Fraud. How do we prevent that? You have the counterfeiting, fraud aspects. Anything? I mean, credit a whole litany of things around going on around that in terms of criminal organization, so forth. What are some mitigation strategies that are put in place?
Well, the chip answered a lot of that. When you go pre-2012, you start getting into where it's MAG only, and a lot of the institutions were MAG only, and that was where counterfeit cards were just rampant, right? You can think of the major merchant compromises, I won't name names, but they were huge, right? Just millions and millions. And that slowed down dramatically, and it pushed the fraud out of that counterfeit space where they were making real cards and using them in store. It pushed it online, right? So that's where Visa, MasterCard, a lot of them have really focused on their online security and online usage of the cards so that websites are validating the card properly before transactions authorized. That's where a lot of it's occurred. If we talk about cool things in the space that haven't quite hit the market, there are cards out there that have dynamic CVV. So there's cards out there where they actually use electronic paper, have small batteries in the card, and the CVV will change once an hour, once a day, once a week, based on how long you want the battery to last. And these batteries can last up to 3 years. So there's really cool things. Now, you start talking price there, Namdi, right? That's when you start getting into very expensive cards because that technology costs more, right? So there are things in this space to help prevent that. But a lot of this has been pushed online. A lot of it also goes back to not so much the card security, but the individual bank website and educating customers on phishing, farming, scams that occur a lot. I know I've been near and around a lot of those scams that allowed, it wasn't so much the card itself that was a problem. It was people were able to get into your account and then order themselves a new card and change addresses and do things. So it wasn't the card's fault. That was the end factor, right? It was what happened up front that got that card in the wrong place to begin with. And we've also seen, and I get a little over my skis on this too a little bit, but we also saw a lot of fraud in how mobile wallets are created and able to, once you're in the person's account fraudulently, you're able to generate you generate yourself a mobile wallet card. So you don't even need a card in the mail anymore with some of the technology out there. I can just tokenize it and get into my mobile wallet on a stolen phone within hours compared to having to wait a couple of days for a card to show up. So, I mean, there's a lot of, and I might need to pull some of my fraud friends that can say, Creston, that's not right. Or you didn't say that. That didn't sound exactly right, but that's the type of thing that's going on out in the space right now.
So a question for you, right? We're like you brought it up, right? Like mobile wallets, digital wallets. What do you see the future of cards? Like, do we even, like, people are paying on their phones? Do you see the future of cards being a thing in the next decade?
Yeah, no, I do. I think so. I see payments moving in kind of three areas, and it's not just the mobile. Embedded's going to be huge. So when you think about you travel a lot, right? I don't pull out a credit card when I get in the car, and when I get an Uber and I pay for my airline tickets, and when I pay for hotels, I don't pull my card out, right? It's embedded. It's there. So we're going to see that continue to grow. Cards, we do see a long runway with cards based on how card numbers are used and the way the space and the networks are built. But to your point, correct. The card will probably continue to decrease in usage, but will probably still remain to be needed. Banks continue to be really, they're slow to launch products, but they never retire products, right? I mean, I wrote a check 3 or 4 weeks ago because I had to pay for a baseball team, right? So, but we do expect volumes to decrease. And this is a whole different topic because this is a regional question and also a generational question, because you see the mobile wallet being used more as for younger users, You also see the mobile wallet used more in more metropolitan areas, right? So depending on how you travel and where you go or where you live can dictate that as well. But we think the card still has a pretty long runway, but agree the way payments are being used is constantly changing.
See, and that's like, maybe it's a generational thing, because my fear when I travel, we're technologists, and the first thing in any computer science program they teach you is backup, 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 backup. So I always took that to heart. So for me, especially traveling internationally or traveling in general, I like 3 points of backup: cash, card, and phone.
Yep.
So, if you're
exactly right.
But when you have everything in your phone and the phone gets stolen, lost, like a guy in a gas station. I don't know if he was scamming. It was a holiday season. Oh, I lost my phone. I'm traveling with my family and all this stuff. I'm like, okay, dude, whatever, right? Gave him a little bit of something. But no, I just would never want to be in that situation and not have some sort of backup.
Correct. No, and you're what I think a lot of people think, right? So, but yeah, I mean, I've seen traveling in the airport, sitting there, and someone, and a younger person, 20-something, they wanted to pay, and they had to hand their phone to the person who left because they didn't. The point of sale weren't wireless there, so it's like, and it worked. Luckily, the phone didn't lock up on them by the time they got back. But I'm like, wow, I don't know if I wanted to hand my phone to somebody and have them disappear behind a wall. No, that's not common everywhere. A lot of times, so a lot of this also has to occur. What is the merchant using? Do they have, what type of equipment do they have that makes this a little easier as well? So that's where you get into that regional where, yeah, if I'm in downtown New York, I'm embedded payments half the time. I'm Ubering, I'm DoorDashing the hotel rooms. I'm not worried about pulling a card out, but you get me in the middle of, Ohio, and I'm at a gas station that only accepts cards, then I'm going to need that, right? Because I can't mobile tap at a lot of gas stations in the U.S. yet. They're getting better at that, but there's a lot of places in the world, U.S. specifically, you can't tap and go. It's just not possible yet.
And one of the last questions I was going to ask you is, because if you really think about it, the only thing we need from the card are the numbers, the security code, and that expiration date. Your name. So in the future, if I have that somewhere, then technically, unless I need to swipe, I can use that to pay for everything. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I don't know if that's actually true or not, because the chip.
Okay,
you got the chip is that digital secure handshake that's occurring at the terminal. Yeah, no, that's where online comes. So what you said is accurate if I'm buying something online, but it also sends an authorization through that will get checked by that will go through certain fraud checks as well. And diving into a lot of different things in that statement, but
it's good. That's a good point. Chip.
Yeah, but you can override. You can tell a server or someone, say, I don't have my card. Can I manually type this in? And that will likely go through. Also mentions a dollar amount. Start getting into different stories here. Like most transactions on $25 don't even get a pre-authorization or all pre-authorized, right? So if you're going to buy something super quick, they're barely not even getting authorization. They're kind of making it automatically go through. So you start getting into different nuances of the payment industry with that kind of statement, but it's still cool, right? On that type of question.
No, this is awesome. This is awesome. I know I said that was my last question, but I got another one. With the card, do you ever, for the future, what do you see in the future for cards? Do you see biometrics? Do you see, because you mentioned all these interesting card technologies?
Yes and no. It's already out there. We've had biometric cards that are available for a while. You get into the cost of it. It's the problem. It's all costs. Do I want to invest $30, $40, $50 in a card for that cool biometric feel when I know that I can buy a card for $3 or $4 and get it in their hands, right? It's cost benefit.
Got it. Listen, Creston, this has been a very interesting topic for me. I really appreciate your time today. What we do for our guests is I'll get off stage and give you a couple of minutes to talk about how people can find you, anything you want to promote or talk about, and I'll do that right now.
No, I'm easy. I'm not in a lot of these places. I'm on LinkedIn. Please reach out any questions. If I know I said something wrong, if I have any peers or colleagues that know me and they're like, that's not how that works, buddy. But please reach out. Was excited to be on the show and appreciate it.
All right, cool. Listen, so Tech Behind FinTech, this is our last live show of the year. So we thank Creston Stickels for coming on board and helping us close 2024 right. It's been a great year for us. Look forward to future live shows and some interesting show topics and different formats we'll be trying for 2025. So definitely stay tuned. We've launched our web platform, if you haven't gone there, which is an aggregation of FinTech news plus our past episodes. So you definitely want to check that out and subscribe to be kept on abreast of the latest news. Even though this is the last show of the year, we will still be shooting, be pushing our shows. It won't be live, it will be a past episode out over the holiday break. I wish everyone a very festival holiday season, and Creston, to you and your family, wish you a Merry Christmas and so forth, and a Happy New Year. On that note, we want to thank everyone for riding with us this year. It's been a really great year. We did conferences, we did a lot of we called it our TBF on the go. So we have live interviews at conferences that we pushed out. We still have a few we're going to be pushing out from Money 2020 throughout the 2025 year. So yeah, man, it's just been really good. I really thank everyone for your viewership. As I always say, whether you watch the show live, whether you watched it tonight, tomorrow, or next year, thank you for your viewership. On that note, we are out. Have a great weekend, great holiday season, and a Happy New Year. Cheers.
Understanding the technology that powers the money is essential. Knowing the business drivers that inspire how the money is made is crucial. Bridging the gap between the mind of the technologist and the mind of the business is monumental. That is what TBF is all about. Let's start this never-ending conversation. It's time.